The engineers who built TikTok refused to let their own children use it. Ask yourself why. And after what I am about to show you, you will have your answer. In 2022, a 17-year-old girl in the United States lost the ability to speak. Not because of an accident, not because of a disease. Her doctors were baffled. Her parents were terrified. After weeks of tests, neurologists found the cause. TikTok. She had developed a condition called a functional tic disorder. Her brain had rewired itself after months of watching TikTok videos of people with Tourette's syndrome. Her brain absorbed what it watched so deeply. It started doing it involuntarily. And she was not alone. Over 500 teenagers across 10 countries developed the same condition within the same year. This is not a story about screen time. This is a story about what TikTok is doing to the physical structure of your brain right now as you watch this. My name is not important. What I'm about to tell you is, I want you to try something right now before we go any further. Think about the last TikTok video you watched. Can you remember it? Think harder. Most people cannot. And that is not because you have a bad memory. It is because TikTok is specifically designed to make each individual video forgettable, so your brain immediately craves the next one. A satisfied brain stops. A craving brain keeps scrolling. Remember that line. We are coming back to it. Let me introduce you to a man named B.J. Fogg. He is a behavioral scientist at Stanford University, one of the most prestigious universities on Earth. In the 1990s, long before TikTok existed, Fogg developed a theory called captology. Captology is the study of how computers can be designed to change human behavior. He taught it as an academic subject. He meant it as a warning. His students took it as a manual. Several of them went on to build the notification systems, the scroll mechanics, and the engagement algorithms at Facebook, Instagram, and eventually TikTok. The man who tried to warn the world about manipulation accidentally trained the people who built the most manipulative app in history. That is not irony. That is a tragedy. Now I need to introduce you to a part of your brain you have probably never thought about. It is called the default mode network. When you are doing nothing, not reading, not talking, not working, this network switches on. It is your brain's version of idle mode. And during idle mode, something remarkable happens. Your brain processes your memories. It consolidates your emotions. It solves problems you didn't know you were working on. Some of the greatest ideas in human history came from people doing nothing. Isaac Newton was sitting under a tree. Archimedes was in a bath. Einstein said his best ideas came during his long walks with no destination. Boredom, real, uncomfortable, phone-free boredom, is where human creativity lives. Now here's the problem. TikTok has declared war on your default mode network. Every time your brain tries to enter idle mode, every time boredom begins to creep in, TikTok is there, filling the gap, flooding the silence. The average person now reaches for their phone within 47 seconds of feeling bored. 47 seconds. Your brain is no longer allowed to be idle, and a brain that is never idle slowly loses the ability to be creative, to process emotion, and to think deeply. TikTok is not just stealing your time. It is stealing your mind. Here is where I want to slow down, because what I'm about to explain changes everything. There is a concept in neuroscience called neuroplasticity. It means your brain physically changes shape based on how you use it. When you practice piano, the part of your brain that controls your fingers literally grows. When you drive a taxi for years, the part of your brain that handles navigation expands. Your brain is not fixed. It is clay, and your habits are the hands that shape it. So ask yourself this question. What is daily TikTok use shaping your brain into? Neuroscientists at University College London ran brain scans on heavy short-form video users. They found measurable reductions in gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and long-term thinking. In plain language, the part of your brain that makes good decisions was physically shrinking. This was not in people with diagnosed addictions. These were ordinary people, students, professionals, parents, watching short videos every day. But let's be fair. Let's steelman TikTok for a moment, because I think it deserves more than just criticism. In 2020, during the loneliest period in modern human history, the COVID lockdowns, TikTok gave millions of isolated people something extraordinary: community. A grandmother in rural Japan learned she was not the only one who talked to her plants. A teenage boy in Lagos discovered thousands of people who loved the same obscure music he did. A woman recovering from cancer found an entire community of survivors who laughed at the same dark jokes she thought made her a monster. TikTok did not create those connections. Human longing did. TikTok was just the place it happened. And that matters. Because when we talk about TikTok's power over the brain, we cannot only talk about what it takes. We have to be honest about what it gives. The real question, is whether what it gives is worth what it takes. And the answer to that question is different for every single person watching this. Let me tell you about a study that should disturb every parent, every teacher, and every person under the age of 25 watching this. In 2023, researchers at the Beijing Normal University tracked 2,000 teenagers over 3 years. They measured their TikTok usage, their academic performance, and their brain activity. What they found was this. Teenagers who used TikTok for more than 2 hours a day showed measurable declines in something called sustained attention, the ability to focus on one thing for an extended period of time, not just slightly lower scores on a test. Their brains had physically lost the architecture for deep focus. And here is the part that woke me up when I first read this study. It was not reversible just by stopping TikTok. The researchers found it took a minimum of 8 weeks of deliberate, sustained practice, reading long books, sitting with discomfort, doing nothing, before the brain began to rebuild its capacity for deep focus. 8 weeks to undo what TikTok built. And TikTok built it one 15-second video at a time. So I want to ask you something directly. When was the last time you were bored, and you stayed with that boredom? When was the last time you sat in a waiting room without your phone? When was the last time you ate a meal alone in silence? Just you and your thoughts. When was the last time a long, slow, quiet moment did not make you reach for stimulation? If you are struggling to remember, I am not judging you. I am telling you that your answer to those questions is the most honest measurement of where your brain currently is. Not your IQ, not your grades, not your productivity, your relationship with silence. Because a brain that cannot tolerate silence is a brain that has been trained to need noise. And a brain that needs noise will always be vulnerable to whoever controls the noise. So what do? I am not going to tell you to delete TikTok. That is not realistic, and honestly, it is not necessary. What I am going to tell you is something more powerful. Reclaim one moment every day that belongs only to your brain. Not to an algorithm, not to a feed, not to a notification. One walk with no phone, one meal with no screen, one morning where the first thing your eyes see is not a rectangle of glass. Start there. Because here is what neuroscience actually tells us about recovery from overstimulation. The brain does not need months of digital detox. It needs consistent, daily moments of genuine quiet. Even 10 minutes of true idle time. No phone, no background music, no podcast. Begins to restore the default mode network within 2 weeks. 10 minutes. Your brain is remarkably willing to heal. It just needs you to give it permission. The 17-year-old girl I told you about at the beginning of this video? She recovered. It took time. It took deliberate effort. It took her choosing, every single day, to give her brain space from the thing that had reshaped it. But she got her voice back. And I think that is a metaphor worth sitting with. Because TikTok, at its worst, takes your voice. Not literally, but the voice inside your head. The one that thinks original thoughts. The one that gets bored and then gets creative. The one that processes pain instead of scrolling past it. That voice is worth protecting. It is the most important thing you own. More than your phone. More than your following. More than your feed. If this video made you pause, and I hope it did, share it with someone whose voice you want to protect. Drop a comment below. Tell me honestly, when did you last sit in silence without reaching for your phone? I read every single comment. Don't forget subscribe to this channel, The Curious Brain, like every video you watch, and share them, because every week, we go to the places most people are too distracted to look. I will see you in the next video.